The Mavericks visit Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers on the first night of a back-to-back. We'll get you ready for tonight's game coming up on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carello. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on the pregame show on DLLS Sports as your Dallas Mavericks visit Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers on the first night of a baseball series back-to-back as they visit the Wall in Intuit Dome tonight for the first time this season. We'll get you ready for tonight's game over the course of the next half hour. We'll let you know who's in, who's out. We'll focus in on Mavericks player spotlight a little bit later on Klay Thompson as we get you ready for tonight's game on this fantastic Friday evening, gentlemen. How are we feeling going into the weekend?
It's too late. Play games earlier.
I agree.
I'm sorry, the West Coast, I thought I loved it. It shouldn't exist. Now, if the West
Not
Coast...
it shouldn't exist, so that's taking it a little far.
You're right. They should change to Central Time, and then I'd be very... I just think that everything should run on Central Time, or whatever time zone I'm currently in.
I'm not going to lie, though. Being able to watch, like, for example, during the NFL season, a noon start time here in the Central Standard Time Zone is a 10 a.m. start time in California, so you could still have pretty much your entire day watching an NFL Sunday worth of games when you live out in the West Coast, which I think is pretty darn cool, to be honest with you, because by the time I get to the end of a Sunday night watching NFL games all day, I'm exhausted.
It was very disorienting the first time I was in California on an NFL Sunday, and I was eating breakfast watching the noon games.
There you go.
Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, football and eggs don't really go together.
Breakfast and football that go together for you?
Yeah, but that's just me.
What about bacon?
Everything goes good with bacon. Dude.
Pigskin, football,
What about
bacon,
hash browns?
you know. Hash browns are good at any point.
Crepes?
I don't know that anyone eats grapes.
French toast.
Don't think anyone eats that.
You, bite your tongue. You don't like French toast?
I just don't know anyone that's like, I'm going to have some French toast.
You don't know anybody
Wow.
from France?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I do. I've met a couple. I don't know.
Well, you think about that while I let them know about tonight's
Have you
game.
ever gone to France?
I've never been.
Wow.
Mavericks take on the Los Angeles Clippers tonight in game number 78 on the season. If you're going to be watching the game tonight, you can watch it on KFAA channel 29 as tip-off is at 9:30 p.m. Bobby Carella on the West Coast as the Mavericks take on the Los Angeles Clippers. Mavericks 38-39 on the year, 17-22 away from the American Airlines Center. Take on a Clippers team that's 44-32 on the year, 26-11 at home so far this year. They are an 11.5-point favorite, are the Clippers with the over-under at 226.5. Let's let you know how these two teams come into tonight's game. We start, of course, with your Dallas Mavericks, ninth in the Western Conference, sit now just one game ahead of the Sacramento Kings after the Kings blew the doors off the Charlotte Hornets a little bit earlier on tonight. So the Mavericks will need to win tonight to maintain their game-and-a-half lead over the Sacramento Kings. Meanwhile, they are now a full 3 games ahead of the Phoenix Suns after they got their doors blown off by the Boston Celtics. So the Phoenix Suns continuing to go the wrong direction at this point of the season. Dallas comes into tonight 3-2 in their last 5 games, as of course that was after losing their previous 9 of 12. So the Mavericks now going into their last 10 games overall 5-5 in their last 10. 23-25 against the Western Conference so far this year, but just 14-24 against teams above 500. More on that note here in just a little bit. Of course, the Mavericks on the first night of the back-to-back as they take on the Clippers tonight and tomorrow night before they come home to take on the Lakers on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Clippers, 8th in the Western Conference. They're just 2 games behind the Lakers. Check this out. For the 4th seed in the Western Conference right now and just a half game behind the Grizzlies for the 6th seed in the West. Clippers are on one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They've won a couple of games in a row, 8 of their last 10 and 12 out of their last 15 overall for Kawhi and the Clippers. They're 23-23 against the Western Conference so far this year. They are 30-10 against teams below 500. So they've been beating down bad teams all season long, at least record-wise this season. Clippers, of course, playing the Mavericks on the first night of a back-to-back at the Intuit Dome. That gets us to our lead story in going into tonight, gentlemen. And unfortunately, Anthony Davis not going to be playing tonight for the Dallas Mavericks, as he will not be playing on the first night of the back-to-back for Dallas after having his best game as a Maverick in the win on Wednesday over the Atlanta Hawks, where he had 34 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks in the win. AD not going to be in the man in the middle tonight for Dallas. Interestingly enough, the Mavericks are trying to get back to 500 for the very first time, gentlemen. Check this out. Since March the 10th, when they were 33-33 after 66 games. Of course, they haven't beaten a team with a record better than 500 since February 13th. That is how long it has been since the Mavericks have beaten a team with a record of,
from the West.
I'm sorry?
From the West, right?
No, period.
The Pistons are below 500 now?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Pistons. So the team from the West, you're right. That would
Stop discrediting the Mavs, KG. You were such an unimaginably...
You're right.
You're such a hater.
I forgot about the Pistons. You're right. They did beat the Pistons, who are over 500. So they've got 2 wins over teams
Huge.
over 500 since February 13th. But yes, against the Western Conference, that is correct. Only one time since then have they beaten a Western Conference opponent with a record above 500. That was the Golden State Warriors way back when, back in mid-February. That means the Mavericks got to find a way to get it done if they want to get to 500 tonight. But it's going to be tough, gentlemen, with no Anthony Davis in the lineup tonight.
I just can't help but think back to that game Dallas plays, a baseball series against the Denver Nuggets. It's a game between them. Kyrie can't play in the first one. Comes back from his back injury in the second one. And that second game against the Denver Nuggets was a back-to-back. Second night of the back-to-back was the New Orleans Pelicans. And my read, and we'll see if it's true, maybe there's a little bit more going on there, but my read of what's happening right now is that Anthony Davis is sitting because Dereck Lively is sitting, because Anthony Davis was going to sit one of the 2 games of the back-to-back. So if you know that Dereck Lively is also sitting this game, and if there's a chance he can play in the second one, or you just want to maximize his ability to be his best self against a more tired team, then you play him in the second game. That is the pragmatic approach to bringing a player who is injured, who is struggling, who has to really prioritize his body. And when he can, put max effort out there, it's the pragmatic approach. It makes sense. Why didn't they do that with Kyrie Irving back in January when they also really needed wins? When the next game,
It's a great question,
was the New Orleans Pelicans, and guess what happened? They lost that game. So, that feels so long ago that it almost doesn't matter. But there's still a number of wins Dallas easily could have had this year, even with the injuries, even with everything that's happened, even with the trade. There's some wins that they're just missing that I always felt obtainable if Dallas had just played it a little bit differently. The offense has even been pretty good. Even when everybody was out, the offense was pretty good. It was better than... some of that, Spencer Dinwiddie ISO stuff that we were seeing earlier in the year. And obviously it's a lot easier for a coach to adjust, to a certainty rather than, because like Dallas was running these long stretches with those being the only players available. But it does bring me back to the beginning of the year, multiple instances at the beginning of the year. And it's good. It's good that Anthony Davis is being treated pragmatically, and Dallas is doing the most they can to make sure they get at least one win of this back-to-back. I don't know why it couldn't have happened a lot sooner.
4 of their last 5 games, Bobby, are against teams with a winning record, and that has not been the MO of his team, beating teams above 500. They're taking on a Clippers team that's been one of the best, especially over the last 15 games, both on offense and defense. Tough Clippers team they're going to be taking on tonight.
Yeah, they're 12-3 in their last 15. The one thing to keep in mind, let's just be honest here, probably going to be an L tonight, right? But tomorrow, assuming that AD and Lively both play, whether or not Gafford is available, the Mavs will just they will have the fresher team, the fresher starting five at least, with AD out there and Lively too. And Kawhi has not been playing back-to-backs for the Clippers this season, and so presumably, even though they're entangled in this jumble of a mess out, just above the Mavs in the standings right now, Kawhi won't play tomorrow. AD and Lively will be fresh, so you would think the Mavs would have a really good chance to win tomorrow. But the Clippers have been a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense for the last month or so. Their numbers were fine before that, but they've really taken off lately once Kawhi's come back. Harden's playing great. Zubats is playing just out of this world. It's going to be a really, really tough matchup for Lively tomorrow. We saw Gafford struggle with Zubats a bit in the playoffs last year, but he finally kind of seemingly broke through down the stretch in that series. He had some bigger games, but obviously that's a whole different lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as it pertains to tonight, it's going to be really tough without those guys. But I just, in general, like if you're in a back-to-back against the same team, I like sitting the guys the first game and then playing them the second game. Because if you play the guys the first game, whether or not you win, the second game is going to be very tough. Everyone is tired and they're going to have to play more minutes. Whereas tomorrow, everyone will be tired, but they might have to play less because you have AD and you have Lively. So if you're going to sit them for one, I appreciate sitting them for the first one. I wish I would have known this long ago, though, so that I could prepare for staying up until 1 a.m. to watch it tonight.
Sounds like you didn't get your pregame nap.
Mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, I'm unprepared for this.
Got it. Well, we'll help you out throughout the course of the rest of the evening. Clippers led by Kawhi Leonard, of course. He has been fantastic, especially in his last 9 games, averaging over 26 points per game, shooting 56% from the field and 50% from downtown as well, averaging 7.3 rebounds and over 2 steals per game. James Harden has been just as good as well in his last 10 games, averaging nearly 24 points per game, 5 rebounds, and giving you 7.5 assists per game in 35 minutes per contest. Mavericks will be led by PJ Washington tonight, who missed the game on Wednesday due to illness. He is back in the lineup tonight for the Dallas Mavericks. He's averaging nearly 22 points per game, shooting over 56% from the field over his last 6 games. Daniel Gafford, who also is back, of course, for your Mavericks as the man in the middle tonight in the starting lineup, averaging over 12 points per game, nearly 7 rebounds, and nearly 2 blocks per game, while shooting 70.1% from the field this year in 53 games. Of course, the Mavericks and Clippers playing each other what will be for the final times of this season tonight and tomorrow. The Mavericks and the Clippers split the first 2 games of the original baseball series that they played back in late December, back on the 19th and the 21st. The Mavericks won the second of those 2 matchups back on the 21st in what was a 113-97 win.
You fled the country for that one, didn't you?
Was I out for vacation on that one? I think so. I was definitely gone Christmas Day because I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no,
day.
you were gone for that second one. You were here for the first one.
That's right, because my birthday. Yep, that's right. I was on the cruise on my birthday. So,
yeah. You fled the country and came back to a disaster.
Jeez, man. Little did I know what was waiting for me on this other side when I came back. Quick question: do you remember who led the Dallas Mavericks that day in scoring in that win over the Los Angeles Clippers back on December 21st?
Grant Williams.
Derrick Jones Jr.
No and no. No.
Jaden Hardy.
Hell no. One last guess, Tim.
Ooh,
Gafford.
How about Quentin Grimes? He had 20 points that day.
I didn't forget him. It's just that I really didn't think he had a big game. Okay.
Back in those days, man. Wow.
Grimes.
No, oh my God,
man. He had 20 points to lead the Mavericks off the bench that day. Leading scorer for Dallas.
Wow.
No one in the starting 5 scored more than 19 that day.
Different time and a different place.
That's right. Norman Powell had 28 points in the losing effort for the Los Angeles Clippers. I didn't think.
I keep forgetting Norman Powell's on that team.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he beats the Mavs' ass every single time he plays them.
Yeah, Norman Powell's a little bit of a baller, man. Could have been an all-star this year,
dude.
But yeah, Norman Powell had 28 points in losing effort. I stumped the guys on the show. How about that? First time ever. When we come back, we'll let you know who's in, who's out. We'll focus in on our Mavericks player spotlight as well. And you'll hear from Jason Kidd from his pregame availability. But before that, let's help you win some money tonight when it comes to Sleeper.
My sleeper pick of the night. It was a rough week for me. I've missed each of my last 2 plays. Granted, it wasn't my fault. It was the guys that let me down. So I'm getting back to basics tonight. I think Kawhi Leonard is going to score at least 20 points for the Clippers. I think Daniel Gafford is going to score at least 10 for the Mavs. And then I think Derrick Jones Jr. is going to make at least 1 3. Of course, the Mavs oftentimes choose a guy to leave open, and the Clippers line up and down. You're probably not going to leave Harden or Kawhi or Norm Powell open. So if you are going to sag off anybody, it will be Jones. So I think I'll have some chances. With my 15% payout boost on Sleeper, the more you pick, the more you win, all the way up to 100 times your money. My multiplier tonight is times 2.63, but then you add that payout boost on top of it. My winnings would be $15.12 on this $5 play. Get me back in the win column. So I'm hoping for luck tonight, gents. You want to play along, download the Sleeper app, use promo code DLLS Mavs. When you play $5 along with me, you can get $55 to use on any picks you like anytime.
Yeah, because you got some work to do to catch up with Jeff Wilson.
Dude, he is a legit 6-0.
He's running up to 6-0 now?
He's 6-0.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Well, shout out to Jeff Wilson.
Literally.
Covers
so far behind.
But I'm 6-6. You'll see the leaderboard in the postgame. I'm 6-6. But on Sleeper, if you're 6-6, you're up big. I'm up big, baby.
Jeff is just a strategic player, it sounds like, when it comes to what he does.
He just knows what he's doing.
With Sleeper. Hopefully the Rangers get the win tonight. They're taking on the Tampa Bay Rays at Globe Life Field. So we'll see if the Rangers get a win. Let's let you know who is in and who's out as we take a look at the injury report going into tonight's game. We start with the Los Angeles Clippers. Amir Coffey, he is out tonight with some left knee inflammation. Ben Simmons, he is out with left knee injury management for the Clippers. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis, he is out tonight on the first night of a back-to-back with the left adductor strain. Dereck Lively is also out tonight with the right ankle stress fracture injury management designation for tonight. Caleb Martin, though, is available as, of course, he continues to play through that left hip strain. That gets us to our Mavericks player spotlight on this Friday night, and we focus in on Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, of course, had 17 points and that game-tying three-pointer on Wednesday against Atlanta with 41 seconds left before Anthony Davis was the eventual hero with the game winner and go-ahead bucket with 3.5 seconds left, and the really nice defense on Trae Young to seal it in the end. In 2 games so far this year against the Los Angeles Clippers, Klay Thompson averaging 19 points per game while shooting 58% from the field and 40% from downtown. Jason Kidd discussing Klay Thompson's presence on this team and what he's meant to the Mavericks so far this year is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think just his calmness. I understand there was a question, did we ever think this was going to take place? No one would have said this was going to happen, but I think things do happen through the season, and your vets have to step up and show why they're vets. And I think Klay is a champion, has seen a lot, been through a lot, and so his calmness, his ability to step up and make big shots. The one thing that has really stood out is his involvement of cheering on his teammates. Make or miss, he's always been positive influence to his teammates, and I think that goes a long ways.
So Jason Kidd discussing, obviously, Klay Thompson's presence and what he's meant to this team so far this year. We will see if he can continue his good shooting against the Los Angeles Clippers after hitting that big shot on Wednesday against the Atlanta Hawks. We got a super chat we want to get to here in the DLLS Mavs pregame show from Billy.
Let's go.
With the $5 super chat. Shout out Yogi Ferrell and Salah Mejri.
2 all-time faves.
Are y'all going to do a watch-along for the Lakers-Mavs game on Wednesday?
So we are not going to do a watch-along that night because we are all going to be at the game, making sure that we get every ounce of coverage that we possibly can. But we will be doing an extended pregame earlier in the day that day, and then we will be doing a postgame show. But it's probably going to start a little later than normal too. But we all need to be at the game to get the vibe, to get some coverage, to get some quotes and some insights for y'all. So we will not be doing a watch along that night. But I'm pretty sure we'll be doing a watch along for every single road playoff / play-in / playoff / after 82 game. So we do have those on the horizon.
There you go, man. We've got plenty of coverage preceding the game on Wednesday as well.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a lot of stuff that we are working on to have you ready for that game.
But also shout out to Yogi and Salah. It's very important. I need to call that out. You are so right. Shout out Yogi and shout out Salah.
There you go. Mavericks could use Yogi Ferrell for sure.
I love Yogi Ferrell. Love Yogi Ferrell.
With some guard play tonight because they're going to need it against the Clippers. I wanted to ask you guys about Klay Thompson real quick because, at the beginning of the year, had the big debut game against San Antonio, and we're thinking this is the kind of Klay, especially with the kind of shots that he's going to get, from Luka and from Kyrie and what that can mean for his season. And obviously we know how things have turned in terms of how the roster has changed. But overall, what have you thought about Klay Thompson and his season up to this point with 5 games to go?
I mean, it's so different than what we expected because the team and the context changed so dramatically. And I think that Klay has been a steady warrior, for this team.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I hate that. That was rough. He's
been a real maverick.
There you go.
A steady maverick.
Fine. He's been a steady maverick. I think he's been a player who is coming down towards the end of his ability to be a starter, to be on the court late in games. Still a really useful player. He's still somebody who can really help you. Like, his gravity absolutely affects opponents and how they defend and scheme. It's just, I don't know. I wish, I think the old context made a little bit more sense. There's times where he's like the only guy out there who I feel is really stretching or bending the defense. But it's also times where he's hitting, a couple huge threes in the fourth quarter down the stretch, to allow Dallas to beat a opponent. He's a good player. It's just unfortunate that this season had to go the way it is because there's only so many seasons left of Klay Thompson. And it is genuinely a joy to watch Klay Thompson.
This season, the Mavs are 37.9% from 3 in fourth quarters, which is the second best mark in the league, which is awesome. That number has dropped, though, pretty significantly since Kyrie went down. It's dropped by more than a percentage point, which for stats is pretty significant. Klay, for the season, 43% from 3 in the fourth quarter. But since the Kyrie injury, he's down to 38% from 3.
Wow.
So that means before injury, even with just Kyrie, let alone with Luka, in the pre-Christmas days, Klay was up near like 45% from 3 in the fourth quarter. And, I mean, it's easy to understand why. The dude is an unbelievable three-point shooter. He's been in a million pressure situations. So it's like no moment is too big for him. But I feel like, at this point in his career, he's not flying off 150,000 screens. He needs guys that can set him up. He needs guys that can draw attention. Klay needs to be the threat on one side of the floor while the superstar is a threat on the other side or in the middle or whatever. And then chaos ensues. And that's why it's so important that they start playing through, in my opinion, that they start playing through AD more and find some ways to get him touches in the fourth quarter more so that you can pose that problem to opponents again. You can choose between me and you can choose between Klay. That's it. One of us is going to get a good look because right now they just don't have enough table setting. They don't have enough movement. They don't have enough creation ability to get him clean looks. And at this point in his career, he needs those looks created for him. That's not a slight. He's going to knock him down at an incredibly high clip, as I just said, but that is the reality.
What sucks about this is there's a circular logic that you're kind of describing where I agree with you. I agree that AD, like, running the offense through him more is ideal. What would help run the offense through AD, help get him to his spots? Good guard play.
Yeah.
Like guards who can create on their own. Guards, they don't even have to be, but they have to be threats to do it. The defense has to respect them. And then all of a sudden, if you do have more threats outside the arc, especially off the dribble threats, like people, who you really have to ship defenses to, you can guard Klay with one guy. Now, that guy has to be right next to him. But you can guard Klay with one guy, which is not what you can say about a lot of the elite guards in the NBA, about Kyrie Irving. And because Dallas isn't putting as many threats out there, it's harder to get the ball into AD, into spots that he feels comfortable and, that he feels or he is efficient from. And so now you're stuck with, if one thing was happening or the other thing was happening, then all of a sudden both things would be happening. And all of a sudden Klay Thompson would be, as good as he was. And Dallas could still do a better job running the offense through Anthony Davis. No question about that. But that is the unfortunate part of this whole equation.
When as you try and like squint and think about, okay, next season could be this way. Imagine you have Kyrie kind of running the show, pulling the strings, and then you have AD inside, outside, pick and roll, face up, wherever, and then Clay is just filling in the cracks wherever around the floor. Like I can see that vision pretty clearly. Like that makes sense to me. But without Kyrie there, it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher to get him looks.
Yeah, we'll have to wait a little while before we can see some of that. Especially
Maybe a
when it
long
comes to-
while.
Yeah, when it comes to Kyrie Irving. Shout out to the Texas Rangers. They got to win tonight. Best record in the American League right now, 6-2.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to the Texas Rangers.
Dude, and the
Appreciate-
Stars are they're gonna pass the Jets. Stars are gonna win the West. Or like
Ooh, that's a bold prediction there.
finish number one. I mean,
Okay, I
and
like
they're gonna
what
win the West, but they're gonna finish number one.
I like what you're doing there. Hopefully, they're hosting that Stanley Cup by the time.
I
we
mean,
get to-
Stars typically are higher than Jets.
Mm.
Nice.
Call Tim. Thanks, Spence. Thanks, Spence.
That was really good. Very well timed, Tanner.
That was good.
That's Spencer Dinwiddie saying nice when oh wait, I already forgot the context.
Dwayne Price was asking him about the Clippers. I mean the
someone
Kings.
told him the Kings. had,
Yeah,
like,
Dwayne
beat-
Price told him that the Kings had lost yet again, and
Nice.
Spencer reacted to that.
Nice.
Nice.
Kings won tonight though.
Yeah,
Big week.
they beat the
Suns getting blown to smithereens again tonight.
They did by the Boston Celtics. So the Mavericks, if they win tonight, they'll maintain their game and a half lead over the Kings. If they don't, it means that they will be just a half game ahead of Sacramento, and that, of course, is important if you're one of the Mavericks to host the play-in game, which would be on April the 16th. Because, I mean, let's just call it what it is. The Mavericks and the Kings are going to be your 9-10 seeds. The question is, where is the game going to be played at this particular point? Because Phoenix, you can stick a fork in that season for them. It's done. It's over and done for them. In fact, it was so bad, Bradley Beal didn't have a single point in the first half for Phoenix tonight against Boston. So
It's a tough scene.
yeah, it's tough for Phoenix. So Sacramento and Dallas battling for 9-10, where the game will be played as far as the playing game is concerned. Real quick, couple X factors going into tonight. If you're the Dallas Mavericks, you got to protect the ball against the Los Angeles Clippers. This is a Clippers team that's number 3 in the NBA in steals per game, averaging over 9 steals per contest. Oh, and when they do turn you over, they are able to score. They're averaging over 19 points per game off turnovers. That is good for 4th in the association so far this year. And also, I hope you guys appreciate the pun. You got to close the zoo. Who do you think I'm referring to?
James Harden,
Wow.
I really had to think about that for.
because he has so much. Kind of looks like.
I'll just leave that where it is.
Oh, you probably mean Justin Verlander.
No, not quite. I think Bobby was on the verge of understanding who it was.
Oh, Zubats.
Ivica Zubac.
Okay.
Close the zoo. Get it?
Mason Plumlee.
If Mason Plumlee gets a double-double tonight, then
But why are we closing zoos? Why are we closing our public institutions?
Check this
The
out.
children want to see.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
because
saw that.
oh, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. That's because Ivica
Talk about that
Zubac has been dominating this season, especially on the boards. He's averaging 16.5 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per contest. That's 4th in the association as far as rebounds per game are concerned. And oh, by the way, check this out. In 2 games against the Dallas Mavericks, he is averaging 17 points per game and 15 boards per contest, including what was a 21-15 game that he had the first time around these two teams got together. So Ivica Zubac has been putting in work for the Los Angeles Clippers against the Dallas Mavericks so far this year. That'll do it for this version of the DLLS Mavs pregame show. We sincerely appreciate all of you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. Somebody did not get their pregame nap in.
I'm ready to go to bed. It was a good night, y'all.
I'm tired too.
See you tomorrow.
I'm gonna go shoot some Papa shot.
I'm
See
gonna
if
go
that-
shoot some Papa Hop.
Papa Hop. Papa shot.
Can we get that as a drop, please? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Gonna see if that wakes me up a little bit. I'm Tim Cato, your Mavs beat writer. We'll see you. We'll see you afterwards.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.